Hey, it's the same old Lions. It's the same old Lions. Hello, folks. Welcome to Jeremy Hadler's YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jeremy Hadler, and today I'm going to be talking about the greatest player in Lions franchise history. This is episode 2 of the GOAT series, folks, from season 2. And before I start, make sure you leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you've not done so. We would appreciate it. Now, in this sequence, I'll be going over the rules once again here, like I did in my first season, folks, of GOAT series. In the criteria, folks, I'm looking for is looking at their tenure. What did they accomplish as a Lion in that and known to be a Lions player? You gotta look at the statistics, you gotta look at the achievements, how much they made an impact on and off the field too as a Lions player. So those are the things I'll be looking at as my criteria for this. And this is not ranked whatsoever. So these are candidates for the contention of being the greatest Lions player of all time. Then I give my opinion who I really think the greatest Lions player of all time is in franchise history. So we'll be going through that. And once again, make sure you leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you've not done so. We appreciate it. But let's start off in honorable mention, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable mention you got is Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford played 12 seasons for the Lions, one-time comeback player of the year, one-time comeback player of the year, one Pro Bowl, tied for the most fourth-quarter comebacks in a season. His stats, folks: 89.9 passer rate, 45,109 passing yards, 282 passing TDs, 63.2 completion percentage, 144 INTs. One of the most productive passers when I think of him. He reminds me a bit of Brett Favre too, folks, because not only is he a little bit of gunslinger here and there, but he can get through the injuries. He can fight through a lot of those injuries, and that's something that I appreciate about Matthew Stafford. Now, he was the first overall pick for the Lions back in the 2009 draft, just coming out of Georgia. He is really known for his game-winning drives and fighting for the tough. That's what sticks out to me about Matthew Stafford. As me as a Packers fan, he was the one guy I feared when going up against the Lions because you never know what you're going to see on Matthew Stafford. Now, he's with the Los Angeles Rams, but that trade, it just like kind of set the Lions like weird out because this is like your all-time franchise, like great quarterback. Now you trade him and you try to get, now you have Jared Goff. Well, we'll see how that works out in the future. With Matthew Stafford, he left a great legacy in Lions franchise history. He did a great job, not only on the field, but off the field. He was very helpful in the community. He loves being part of the Detroit Lions and just a great human being too. But again, I got to put Matthew Stafford here as my honorable mention. Just amazing player. Next player I have in my contention is Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders, one of the great questions. As I mentioned in my first season of the GOAT series, he's the greatest running back of all time, in my opinion. The great question with him, though, was what would he have been like if he went to another team, played more seasons? Because he only played 10 seasons with the Detroit Lions and his career. That was interesting. But he was a first ballot Hall of Famer, considered the greatest running back of all time. In my opinion, he's the greatest. He won 1 MVP, 2-time Offensive Player of the Year, 1 Offensive Rookie of the Year, 6 first-team All-Pro, 4 second-team All-Pro. Made the all-time pro in every single one of his seasons. That's amazing because you rarely see a player ever accomplish that. 4-time rushing yards leader, 10-time Pro Bowler, 1-time rushing TDs leader. He's a part of the pride of the Lions, of their Ring of Honor. He retired his number for the Lions, made the Hall of Fame, as I mentioned before. He had 3,062 carries for 15,269 yards, 352 catches for 2,921 yards, scored a total of 109 TDs. Pretty impressive of the stats. Give you more stats about him. In the 10 seasons he had at least 1,000 rushing yards. Third person to gain over 2,000 rushing yards season, and he recorded 5 1,500-yard rushing yards in a season. In addition to that, he's the only back to do so in 4 consecutive seasons. 4 consecutive. He is a very consistent guy. Unbelievable talent. I wish my Packers drafted him instead of Tony Mandarich. Yeah, imagine Brett Favre and Barry Sanders together. That would have been a powerhouse duo, but that unfortunately didn't happen. And the thing about his game is he created the most missed tackles than any other running back in history, had powerful legs, had very good balance, low center of gravity. He had good reflexes to stop a dime in the defense and change directions wherever he goes. So he has good speed and good ability and balance. That's the things that you look for in a running back. But the way he just leaves defenders, just beats them out, all of that, just amazing to see. And Barry Sanders, one of the greatest running backs of all time, in my opinion, the greatest. But the question I still had with Barry Sanders is, what would have happened if he played more seasons with the Lions or if he left the Lions? Because, and they didn't accomplish much in Barry Sanders' tenure. They did make the playoffs once here and there, but they never got to the Super Bowl. They never went far in the playoffs. They rarely had winnable seasons. That's the one thing about Barry Sanders, though. He never got far of like in the season depth, but as an overall player, one of the greatest and best ever to do it, especially as a running back. And my next player on my list I got is Dick Lane. Dick Lane played 6 seasons with the Lions, 4 first-team All-Pro, 1 second-team All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler, 2 times interception leader. Prior to the Lions, which is the Ring of Honor, in the Hall of Fame, his stats, folks, 21 interceptions, 4 fumble recoveries. The things about Dick Lane in his game is he's a fear tackler. He makes great tackles, amazing speed and agility, great reflexes. Like I mentioned with Barry Sanders, he can approach it of like making a stop, pass breakup play. Another thing about Dick Lane is he has good reflexes. Like I mentioned with Barry Sanders, he can make those plays right off the bat and knows what's about to happen. And he had fierce determination to excel. So he had that motivation, that competitiveness in him, but he made a great impact with the Lions too. So that's a good thing that stuck out to me. And that's why I'm going to put him here in this list. Next player I got is Megatron. Calvin Johnson. Like what I mentioned with Barry Sanders, played less seasons and retired early in his career, and we never know if Calvin Johnson would have accomplished more with the Lions or another team. We never know. But he played 9 seasons with the Lions. In that time, he made 3 first-team All-Pros, 1 second-team All-Pro, 6 Pro Bowls, 2-time receiving yards leader, 1-time receiving TDs leader, 1-time receptions leader. He had the most receiving yards in a season, which was 1,964. He has the most consecutive 100-yard receiving games, which is 8. His stats, folks: 731 receptions for 11,619 yards and scored 84 touchdowns, and he made the Hall of Fame. Megatron. Now, he was the one guy, especially as a Packer fan, I feared because I grew up watching him. He would make amazing catches, you can beat him. He had that big body type, could beat down the CBs and the safeties. He was just a powerful guy. No one could stop him. Just nobody could stop him. And he had so much talent. His catching ability, his speed, his strength, leaping ability, his body control were some of the key things that when I watched Calvin Johnson, those were the things that stuck out to me. But the thing about Calvin Johnson is he succeeded a lot in his career for a short time. He succeeded a lot in his career. And that's the thing that really sticks out to me about him was he was amazing talent, accomplished a lot, and retired early in his career like Barry Sanders. Just another Barry Sanders player when I look at him. And the next player on my list I got is Yale Larry. Yale Larry played 11 seasons for the Detroit Lions. He's a 3-time champion, 3 first-team All-Pro, 2 second-team All-Pro, 9-time Pro Bowler, made the Lions Ring of Honor the pride of the Lions. He had over 50 career interceptions. And the thing about with Yale Larry is his stats. They weren't really known because stats in football at that time for him weren't really out until like the 80s and 90s. That's when it really came out. I mean, yes, technically in the 70s too, but Yale played like way early in the careers in the 50s and 60s that not many stats were out yet, especially like sacks, for example. They weren't out, pass breakups. So this is what I got off of a Football Pro reference. So that's what I got from the interceptions wise. That was it. But the way from what I heard and try to watch some highlight tape of Yale Larry, if there was footage of him, was he was a very good safety. He was a key factor in the Detroit's fearsome defensive platoon in the 50s and 60s. He had great heart and he gave it his all. And he was a great carrier player too, which made him one of the greatest players in Lions franchise history. He led by example as a leader for the Lions by raising the level of all his teammates, trying to motivate them, try to get them to get up and everything like that. And he helped them win multiple titles for the Detroit Lions, which were championships back in that day, folks. So Yale Larry was a big piece of that Lions tenure, was a big piece of the Lions defense and the team. And he had a great impact that he helped the Lions win a couple championships here and there. But Yale Larry, just a great player. One of the greatest. The fact that he got 50 interceptions, which I know quarterbacks threw a lot of interceptions back then, but still, the fact that he got 50 interceptions is rare, and that's amazing to see that, especially with accomplishments and how he gave it his all and trying to motivate his teammates. That's just amazing to see that from Yale Larry. And Yale Larry, great player on and off the field by giving all his heart and just giving it all to help his teammates out. So I got Yale Larry here. All right, to round out before I get to my ultimate decision here for the greatest player in the Lions history is Joe Schmidt. I got Joe Schmidt right here. Played 13 seasons for the Lions, 2-time NFL champion, 8 first-team All-Pro, 8. That's impressive. 2 second-team All-Pro, 10 Pro Bowls. Prior to the Lions, he made into. Again, his stats are the same as Yale Larry, 24 interceptions, not that much I could really get out of Joe Schmidt. But when you hear about him, he was an amazing tackler. He was an amazing tackler, very good at stuffing the run. He kept improving from day one to the end of his career with the Lions as a player. From each step, was a hard worker. He would not stop giving up. And not only did he play for the Lions, but he also coached the Detroit Lions for 6 years. And under that 6-year tenure for Joe Schmidt, he got a 43-34-7 record, finished second each year from 1969 and 1972 as a coach. And he evolutionized the linebacker position with his speed, and he made a great job of tackling too. And because of his speed, it helped stop the run, take the load off the defensive backs who were trying to make the tackle, and he was very impactful. He would just run through a 250-pound guard and just get right through it because of his speed. So not only did he do great in the running, but he found ways to attack that offense and beat them. But as I mentioned before about his speed revolutionizing the linebacker position, it helped attack that offense. He could stop the run. He could also back up and try to fake out the offense of drop back for blocking a pass. And his power, too, he was strong enough just to bulldoze those blockers. And that's the amazing thing on him. He had great talent, too, but the speed out of him is what really impressed me about Joe Schmidt. And the fact that he accomplished all of these with 8 first-team All-Pros, 10 Pro Bowls, and as a coach, too, getting a win record for Lions, which is hard for Lions franchise history, given the Lions of what they're known for. He accomplished a lot. And I got to give praise for Joe Schmidt right there. I got to give him praise. All right, so to round out, the greatest player, I think, in Lions franchise history has to come down to 3 key guys here: Joe Schmidt, Barry Sanders, and Calvin Johnson. Now, the things that stood out to me across the board here was a lot of these guys had not that many seasons. I mean, 10 seasons seems like a lot, but in the NFL, most players play way more, like maybe 13, 15 here and there, even though the average for an NFL player is like 3 years. But when you're playing for a franchise, play way more than 10 years. So Calvin Johnson, he played 9 years. Amazing to do that. Joe Schmidt, 13 years. That was the Frank Gore of this list here, folks, that I forgot to mention. So it comes down to Calvin Johnson, Joe Schmidt, and Barry Sanders to me. Me personally, I'm going to take Barry Sanders here because, A, the Lions are not what they are without Barry Sanders of that run game. Even though they didn't accomplish a lot with Barry Sanders, he helped the Lions franchise become like great for a bit. He helped them give Lion fans hopes. And he was phenomenal, give it his all. He won MVP with them. He did not stop and was one of the greatest running backs to do so in Lions franchise history. Even if the offensive line was terrible for the Lions, he still found ways to beat the defenders and score for them. So I think it's Barry Sanders is the greatest player in Lions franchise history. But let me know what you guys think here. Do you think Barry Sanders is the greatest player in Lions franchise history? If not, please comment. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Who do you think should have been recognized on this list here? Who should have been honorable mention? Should Matthew Stafford not have been? Let me know your thought, guys. Let me know your thoughts. But for me, I got to put Barry Sanders here because I just think personally what he accomplished and how he achieved it without much help from the Lions, he still accomplished it on his own, become a great Lion. He became a great pride of them, great pride of them. That'll do it here, folks. And for next episode, folks, so we still get to the NFC North. We're heading to the Chicago Bears. But that's a wrap in this video, folks. Stay tuned for the next episode with the Chicago Bears and to add on to Season 2 of the GOAT Season series. Stay tuned for that. But have a great day, folks. We'll see you next time.